My name is Sourdough, the sourdough culture, man. And I'm here to tell you about sourdough culture. Check this out, everybody. You see how bubbly is going on in there? Look at that. There is a lot of life in there. You guys see that? Yeah, let me turn my flashlight off. Sorry. I sometimes live in caves, and the only way to survive is with my sourdough culture. People in the frontier going out west and Alaska would never be seen without their sourdough culture. It was the way that they lived. Um, and sourdough culture is an ancient tradition that before people could buy yeast in stores commercially, people had to use the natural yeast that's in the air. There's tons of it. There's billions of microbes and things living in the air as we speak in your house and outside. And starting a sourdough culture is really easy. Um, Basically, all you need is flour and water. Um, if you There are a few ways to help jumpstart it if maybe in your house the sourdough culture isn't really catching. One, you could add yeast to it. You could just add some yeast from a pre-package, and that will get it going. And then eventually the original yeast will die out, but then it will be a lot more easy for local yeast to kind of move in because it's been jump started. I originally someone gave me like a prepackaged dried sourdough culture that I mixed in with flour and water. I failed many times. Many times I just had flour and water. I'm like, what's going on? This thing will not become alive. But eventually it did start bubbling and becoming vigorous. Um, Other ways to kind of get it started, I think, is if you have a good mixture of flour and water and you go outside on a really nice day, I think that there's more of a chance that um, the natural yeast will be able to find your flour and water and begin to make it bubble and become alive. You could add a little sugar to it or maple syrup or something. I think that will kind of sweeten the deal for the yeast that are around looking. But another way you could get it started is instead of using water, you could use something that already has a culture. So maybe maybe milk that is more raw and not pasteurized, or you could use beer or kombucha or like the brine of pickles that are live or kraut or something that can help kind of give it a jump start and help it become activated. Um, the sourdough culture is really fun to tend. I talk to it. I'm like, oh, sourdough, I just love you. Oh my gosh, you smell so nice and floral. Oh yeah, you like when I feed you. I feed my sourdough culture maybe once a day. You don't have to do it once a day, um, but you can. I fed it a whole variety of things. I fed it apples, berries, eggs, usually an egg if I'm going to make a pancake in the morning, maple syrup, tea. If I have leftover tea that I don't want to drink or my housemates do, throw it in there. She loves that. She loves the nice tea. Milk. When I've added unpasteurized milk to my sourdough culture, oh my god, jumps from there. Look at all those bubbles. You guys see that? All the way basically up to the top of the jar. My sourdough culture really likes milk for some reason. Unpasteurized milk. Um, and different types of flours. Usually, what I'm feeding it is wheat flour, but I've also fed it corn flour, which it doesn't like as much. I think there's something that wheat is particularly good. Um, but then I've also fed it rye flour. It really likes rye. And I'm sure I've fed it other flours, but mostly just a little bit of flour and a little bit of water every day to keep it going. Some people will put it in the fridge and wait till when they want to make pancakes or bread and then bring it out and reactivate it. But I use mine a lot, so I mostly just keep it out. And keep it fermenting and keeping it alive. Um, and so now I'm going to show you what I like to make most because I'm not really the most expert bread baker, but I like to make pancakes. You can call me Pancake Frontier Alaskan John Joe the Pancake Man, okay? Yes, so now let's move on to the sourdough rosemary potato pancakes in this episode.
Hello, everybody. We are in the process of making savory sourdough pancakes. So I got this recipe from this book, Wild Fermentation by Sandor Katz. This is the recipe that's on page 108. It's called Savory Rosemary Garlic Sourdough Potato Pancakes. And so over here, I have my sourdough culture, which has just been basically killed because I used all of it in the pancake batter. Some dandelions, some nettles, and some garlic mustard that I'm going to use basically instead of garlic in the recipe. And if you come over here, you can see this is the pancake batter that I have made that I'm going to let sit overnight. It's basically half sourdough culture, half kind of like flour. And then if you look over here, I boiled some potatoes and I grated 3 potatoes in there and a carrot. And yeah, basically that's it. But I'm going to cut up this garlic mustard and these wild greens. And in the recipe, I put some rosemary, a bunch of rosemary into that pancake batter that you see. And so basically what's going to happen overnight is that the sourdough culture is going to, that basically the whole thing is going to ferment overnight. The sourdough culture is going to help everything else kind of like activate and get bubbly and have the yeast form over everything. And it's also helping break down the plants that are in there too, the potatoes and everything. So I'm just going to add these greens into the pancakes and stir it up so that they can kind of like become fermented overnight. And this is the before night process of making savory sourdough pancakes.
Hey everybody, here with sourdough savory pancakes, and it's about noon, and I've made a bunch of pancakes. Look at them. There's some rested on some garlic mustard. Here's some in this pan right here. I just finished this nice one that was in the pan right there, and they're really delicious. I didn't add baking soda to them, so they didn't like rise the way they would if you add baking soda. For some reason, Sandor Katz um, doesn't add baking soda. Um, but it's really nice to put like kind of a yogurt or some sort of savory sauce. I made some kind of like vinegar, mustard, turmeric sauce for the pancakes, and they were really delicious. So warm and toasty. Mm. Wow. That's sourdough savory pancakes with Colin the Pancake Man. Catch you next week.